Hello, everyone, and welcome to Storytime with Shah. I know I have to read the Tento Saga, but I did promise. I promised. I did promise. I promised in my last live that if someone donated me $20, I would read the Tento Saga. So here we are, reading over 300 pages of absolute fucking shit. Hello, those of you who are joining me today. I am the thirst, and I'll be here with you for your story time. If you'd like to donate to help me end my misery, you can certainly do it. I take CashApp, I take PayPal. I'm also fully monetized on YouTube, so if you're watching over on the YouTubes, you can send me a lovely super chat, and that would just make my day. I hope you're liking this soft, soothing voice, because this is going to be torture. Hold on, I have to share the link in one more Discord. One more little Discord, and then we'll get this adventure underway. Here we go. That lovely. You just got to share those happy little links. That way people know that you're going live. Anyway, hello. I am the CashApp, and today we'll be reading the Tento Saga. And I hope that I will not go completely insane while reading it. You love my sleepy voice. Thank you. I figured that, we could all settle down, get us a drink, or stiff cocktail if you have those available. Just listen to the soft music and the sound of my voice, reading you over 300 pages of absolute shit. I will let you know, though, that I will be limiting these streams to maybe 2 hours. That way I don't completely lose my voice from just constantly talking, without any rest to listen to dumbasses talk. So, let's get into it, shall we? Welcome to Storytime with Shah. And today's story is part 1 of the Tento Saga. Part 1. The Exile. Oh, and one more note before we begin. I am also blind reading this as well. So, if I mess up, you can make fun of me for my lame reading comprehension. Here we go. Without further ado, let's get into the insanity. Part 1. The Exile. Prelude to Agony. The President of the United States sat in the Oval Office. He studied the national security estimate laid out by his security advisor. The title of the report read, "Austria Determined to Dominate the World." The President's national security advisor paced, contemplating the nation's response to the rising threat. "Sir, I don't see any alternative to the regime change in Austria. The dictator has proven through his actions that he isn't willing to negotiate peace with his neighbors. I fully believe that he will continue on his current course of action and eventually dominate the entire region," the advisor concluded gravely. "I agree. I'm disappointed in the lackluster intelligence estimates leading up to this current report. This man is the worst tyrant since Adolf Hitler. It's as if we've gone back in time to a couple thousands of years. If unchecked, this man's plot for world domination will succeed and his disgusting ideology will rule," the president stated. Suddenly, the president's phone rang. He picked it up with dread. "This is the president." "Sir, NORAD reported thousands of incoming Austrian military craft by air, land, and sea. It appears as if a large-scale invasion of the United States is in action. Early intelligence reports state that General Zonfer's brigade," the military official said that it's General Zonfer's brigade, the military official said calmly. "Deploy forces throughout the country immediately," the president asserted decisively. "That psychopath needs to be stopped immediately." "Yes, sir, I'll keep you updated on operations," The president hung up with a somber expression on his face. "Sir?" the president's security advisor inquired. "We're at war on American soil. Within the hour, Zonfor's forces will be at our doorstep. I'd better phone the vice president and prepare an address. Meanwhile, we need to move to the underground security bunker. General Zonfer and his brigade are advancing." The president's associate swallowed hard. "I've heard of this man's tactics. God help us." Yes, God will need to help. God will need to help us all. General Zonfer stood on American soil surveying the battlefield, assault rifle in hand. The Austrian forces had taken most of the country with little opposition. The United States preparedness was flawed at best. The ruthless military leader oversaw Austrian-dominated New York City. I do not understand why that is all in one word, but there we go. His transport chopper thudded in the background atop the United Nations building. He thought about his next militaristic action when a captain chimed in on his communication channel. "General, our forces are advancing on the American capital. Deployments of American forces are currently unfolding. Combat operations are going as planned." "Excellent. I've landed in New York City and will be overseeing the holding of the territory. I will expect hourly updates on progress. When the capital falls, I want to know," commanded Zonfer. The general ran down to the ground level of the city streets, with the sound of tanks and jet fighters booming through the world's economic capital. An officer approached Zonfer and said, "Sir, we have to pass the bridge that connects the city, but civilian vehicles clutter the bridge." "Take them out," Zonfer declared without hesitation. "Yes, sir," the soldier stuttered, startled by Zonfer's heartlessness. Really should have moved that next line of dialogue down a line. Otherwise, it looks like Zonfer is still talking. When the breeze on Tento blew, the planet shivered. It was a cold and desolate planet, the kind of place that not even the commoners liked. For this reason, no one visited the planet. Its overcast, dreary clouds wrapped it in a charcoal-gray prison. Tento seemed to cry to be freed from its cold desolation. Science labs in various states of disrepair stood in the middle and far-reaching parts of the planet. The buildings looked as if some new age weaponry had decimated them. This was only somewhat accurate. There had been an uprising between the scientists on the planet. This and the naming of the planet signaled the only defining moments in Tento's history. From Earth, an astronomer named Evan Tento had discovered the new planet. Upon discovery, Tento reported that the planet didn't appear to hold any promising qualities. At this time in Earth's history, nothing interested the inhabitants of Earth more than the possibility of life on another planet. Whenever an astronomer spoke, his words pertained to this subject. But the discovery of this planet received the label of a useless discovery. Little did those who dismissed it know that the planet's discovery would change the course of mankind. If you'll excuse me for a moment, I am going to take a sip of my drink. My throat is becoming dry. I would also like to take this moment to welcome in all newcomers. Yes, we are doing Storytime with Shaw. We are reading the Tento Saga. And I would also like to make a note, if YouTube happens to look at this for any type of copyright claim, the owner and author of this IP has stated that this is public domain and therefore can be used openly by the public, and thus is covered under fair use laws. Thank you very much, and we now return to the story. The discovery of Tento came at a very inopportune time. It proved to be the worst time for something significant to happen in the realm of intergalactic biology. If this discovery had come at any other time, Earth's inhabitants' excitement would have skyrocketed. Earthlings worried about the direction of their leader. After the great leader Zonfer had devised a plan to eliminate all threatening inhabitants of Earth and to begin his campaign for world domination, all of Earth's nations united to defend their home. Earth chose to resist. Zonfer had assembled a massive army. When all of the battles had concluded, Zonfer emerged victorious. This signaled the arrival of the Great Slaughters. Zonfer entered nations and wiped out complete dynasties. Generations of great leaders perished at the hands of the tyrant. This turned out to be a transitional period for the planet Earth. Zonfer had successfully extinguished all of his possible enemies through a masterful plan of deceit and conspiracy. It took many years for the residents of Earth to accept his uncomfortable actions. It took many years for the residents of Earth to accept his unconscionable actions. Words are hard. However, it signaled a very prosperous time in Earth's history, when the economy was strong and the crime rate was almost non-existent. It was unclear if this was because of Zonfer's final solution, very bad use of words, or just because there were fewer people to commit crimes. Unemployment disappeared, a problem of the past. The only people who experienced poverty were those who deliberately decided to not work. Does that sound familiar? Along with addicts and the mentally ill, they became vagrants. The super corporations of the world flourished, manufacturing boomed, and people purchased things just as fast as production took place. For the first time in Earth's history, 98% of the population enjoyed the benefits of an unlimited job market. Little did anyone know that a terrible evil, an evil far worse than Zonfer, stood poised and ready to strike down the inhabitants of Earth. The architectural wonder that was Zonfer's headquarters dominated the landscape where it resided. No leader had ever possessed a more imposing or awe-inspiring structure. Custody of such a structure surely proved an individual supremacy over all others. I do not know why others is so far away at the end of that sentence, but there we go. Sitting in his majestic main office, Zonfer contemplated what the new day would bring. As he sifted through the various thoughts that crowded his mind, he stood and strolled through his domain, with arms folded, at a leisurely pace. Zonfer personified the very essence of intimidation. He stood strong at 6 feet 2 inches tall, and his posture was flawless. He appeared somewhat younger than his years, with flowing, shoulder-length, gray and auburn tinted mane and facial hair. Exceptionally malevolent Again, I would like to reiterate that words are hard. Exceptionally malevolent facial features completed the striking visage, arching eyebrows, and deep scowl marks. Little escaped Zonfer's intellectual ability. He was a man of infinite intelligence and foresight. This combination of mental acumen and physical prowess made Zonfer a tour de force of coercion. Make no mistake, Zonfer ruled planet Earth and its tenants with an iron fist. Nonetheless, the subsequent weeks and months would prove to humble the brutal leader. As he sifted through the intelligence reports, he slowly caressed his beard. The last few sentences troubled him. The United States continued to be a thorn in his side. Go us. He now regretted not eliminating the government completely. It was a precarious and unusual political situation. Zonfer had ultimate rule over the country, but the leadership fought him in every way they could. The pundits described it as the Zonfer occupation of the United States. This was as accurate a description as could be formulated. Zonfer read the transcription of the latest Senate and House activities. The amendment hereby states the United States remains steadfast in our resolve to complete our resolve against our occupier. The CIA, in unison with the UN, shall monitor Zonfer's activities and hold the tyrant accountable. Zonfer sighed and closed the cover on the tan folder. It was little more than rhetoric. Both he and the rebellious U.S. leadership knew nothing could touch Zonfer. A unifying evil stood poised to strike. Here we go. Chapter 1. The Genesis of Destruction. Before we begin Chapter 1, I would also like to remind my viewers that if you would like to help donate to lessen my insanity, you definitely can. I take PayPal, I take CashApp, and I also take Venmo. If you are watching over on the YouTubes, I am fully monetized on YouTube, and you can feel free to send a super chat or even subscribe as a member. Thank you, and we now return you to our story. Chapter 1: Genesis of Destruction. Tabor sat in his lab chair examining the new samples from the region of concern. Reports of outbreaks of mysterious infections caused by long-extinct diseases had been piling up on Tabor's desk. Whenever something of this nature occurred, research would immediately commence. Tabor worked for the biochemistry department of Zonfer's administration. What he was looking at baffled him. Staring back at him lay the biological makeup of a destructive force that could very well bring about the demise of Earth and its vulnerable life. Tabor performed various tests on this biological anomaly. He determined that it was a single-celled organism that could reproduce asexually. If only. This hypothesis represented the only logical and viable conclusion that the current research information provided. But with more reliable information on the actual organism, the biological calculations didn't make much sense. He was determined that in a period of about 24 hours, this organism could cover the entire face of the Earth. That is one fast-acting plague. If only COVID had worked that fast. The resulting report, with little more than a barely feasible educated guess, came off more than a little ridiculous. Tabor, a scientist, no shit, wanted to back up his information with solid, well-formed facts. This, given the current state of the facts as he knew them, would be impossible. He knew that, if he was left without further research and data gathering, this threat could assemble in a frightening maelstrom of unimaginable proportions. He gathered the research reports and projections that made the most sense and filed them for submissions to Zonfer's main office. He prepared for, and dreaded, an inevitably awkward presentation. Yes, it was. It was Shanny's warts. They spread like wildfire. Zonfer stared at the various information packets Tabor had assembled for his boss's consumption. Was he going to eat them? Probably would be more nutritious than Shanny's cooking. After he finished the final page of the research summary, he sighed and threw it upon his enormous desk, where it landed in a heap. To say the least, he didn't take it seriously, but he requested the presence of his science officer to discuss the controversial report. Minutes later, one of Zonfer's aides announced Tabor's arrival. Tabor entered Zonfer's office, hoping fervently that the meeting had nothing to do with his research pertaining to the biological anomaly. However, he wasn't so fortunate. "Sir, you requested my presence." "Yes," said Zonfer. "Please come in, come in." "Did you digest all of my report?" Tabor asked in dread. Again, I could not understand why the editor did not separate those lines of dialogue. "Yes, I did. Please sit and have a drink with me." He poured some fresh coffee from his sideboard into a second mug and placed it before Tabor. Zonfer's expression frightened the timid science officer. Tabor took his seat and slowly sipped the hot coffee. "Tabor, you take me as an intelligent man, don't you?" "Yes, sir, of course," Tabor replied humbly. And then please explain to me how, Tabor, you expect me to buy this horse manure." Zonfer's eyes blazed with fury. He wasn't the type of man who hid his emotions. His personality didn't allow it. Yes, much like Shanny. "Sir, all I have done in this report is presented the facts to you as I know them. With the information provided, you must understand that little is certain about this organism," Tabor confidently concluded. "The facts you refer to, they include the ridiculous theory about the possibility of this being a biblical plague. Do you realize that nothing like that has been mentioned in thousands of years? The Bible was rejected as fiction long ago, Tabor. You being a scientist, I would assume this is something you are aware of." There was more of a hint of sarcasm in Zonfer's voice. Tabor didn't appreciate this in the slightest little bit. He momentarily forgot whom he was addressing and made a fatal error. Sir, I really don't appreciate being made to look a fool. I merely mention the biblical type plague as a comparison. I do not mean it literally, a biblical plague. To be perfectly honest with you, the research data couldn't definitively confirm anything about this thing. I need more time and samples to do any kind of viable to make. I would like to remind people that words are hard. I need more time and samples to come to any kind of viable conclusion in this matter. Zonfer sifted in his seat, and clenched the ends of the armrest with his large chair. And I don't appreciate my biochemist talking back to me. You speak to me like that again, and you'll find yourself at the barrel end of a pulse cannon. My apologies, sir. I don't know what got into me. Tabor shriveled back into himself like a snail into a shell. He knew Zonfer wouldn't directly eliminate him because the watchdog agency studied his every move. Zonfer, however, had his methods of discreet action. Tabor had witnessed them on several occasions. Now he appeared to be the latest in a long line of science officers who had lost favor with Zonfer. So, are you going to recommend that I tell the public about this inconclusive report, or should I let it slide? Asked Zonfer sarcastically. Well, sir, I think that's up to you. Upon further research, I can submit a more conclusive report. Until then, I think the decision would be best made by you. Tabor, you know that I'm required to carry out whatever actions you recommend. This entire conversation is being monitored by that organization that had me by the balls when I wanted to eliminate all the senators on Capitol Hill in Washington. No more beating around the bush. What is your recommendation? Tabor searched for an acceptable response. He stumbled over his word, his mind in disarray. Well, sir, I think this certainly... Zonfer clenched his fist hard. He gritted his teeth and glared at the terrified scientist with absolute contempt. My recommendations would be to, Zonfer stroked the pulse cannon that rested on his desk while staring at Tabor with a murderous rage in his eyes. Taylor silently interpreted Zonfer's body language and responded accordingly. I recommend that you not mention it. It would cause an unnecessary panic among the inhabitants of the planet. This is appearing only in a remote region that used to be the Holy Land. At worst, the casualties would be limited given the general location of interest. The consequences of panic would be far more dire. All right, Tabor. I appreciate your visit, and I will think about every option. Now, there are many things that demand my attention. I would appreciate some privacy now. Tabor froze, staring blankly in Zonfer's general direction, unblinking. Tabor! Zonfer exploded in anger, striking his desk furiously. The science officer jerked back in fear, his body trembling uncontrollably. Yes, sir. I'll begin my follow-up report immediately. Don't bother, Tabor. Tabor exited with a heavy chest and a heavy conscience. He realized the possible outcome of what he had just done. Chapter 2. First Emergence, November 22nd, 3033. The Council for Scientific Research sat in session. The topic of discussion was the violent heat waves that gripped the Middle East. The lead member of the panel, Dr. Gillian Waters, stood prominently in the center of the conference room. Ladies and gentlemen of the Council, he began. Dr. Tabor, the lead scientist in the science department of the Zonfer administration, has submitted a frightening report to the Council for discussion. It concerns the recent climate change in the Middle East. Apparently, in this same remote region, a biological threat of an unknown origin has surfaced. Our goal today is to examine the findings thoroughly and discuss the possible origins of this organism. Displays embedded in the desk in front of the scientists flickered in activity as a report loaded onto the Council's research equipment. Please examine the findings thoroughly, said Waters. When you're finished with your research, please activate your indicators. At that time, I shall return. Thank you for your cooperation." Dr. Waters exited the conference room. He walked to an adjacent room, took a seat at a desk, and turned on a display with the research data loaded. Deep in thought, he examined the preliminary biological test results, scanning images and text. He frowned and rubbed his forehead, baffled by the data. Meanwhile, in the conference room, the council wasn't doing much better. Clicks of keyboards sounded intermittently. The council members tirelessly attempted to piece together the puzzle. Gradually, completion indicators were activated. Finally, the last scientist activated his indicator. Soon after, Dr. Waters entered. "I'm excited to hear your findings. To be honest with you, I can't begin to understand this organism. Miss Barber, were you able to designate for presentation?" Excuse me, I will reread that sentence. "Miss Barber, you are the designate for the presentation." "Thank you, sir. I think I can speak for the rest of the council when I say that I've never seen anything like this. We couldn't even confirm that this organism is, in fact, living. One theory says it could be a chemical weapon of some sort made to look like a single-cell organism, but we can't confirm that. In terms of climate change, this is another mystery. I wish I could tell you more, but..." Her voice trailed off. "Don't apologize," Dr. Waters responded in a tired voice. "I suspected this would be the case. I have been studying the whatever it is since Dr. Tabor first filed his report. I haven't been able to come to any definitive conclusion myself. All I know is that the projections are terrifying." "Indeed, sir, we concur. Unfortunately, we cannot aid this investigation any further without more information," Barbara responded. "I understand. Dr. Tabor is performing a follow-up on his inconclusive first report. This report will be made available to the council upon completion. Well, that concludes this session. Thank you for all your efforts." The scientists rose from their seats, still in a state of disbelief at what they had observed. Several discussions ensued as they left the conference room. Dr. Waters stood outside his office. His cell phone rang, and he answered. "Dr. Waters here. Hello, Dr. Tabor. How is the follow-up report going?" The doctor's eyes widened. "You've got to be kidding me. And he's ignoring it?" A resident of Center City in the Middle East sat in his residence. You don't say. A resident sat in his residence. Viewing the evening news on television, the commentator began the telecast. The heat wave in the Middle East continues, and reports of mass hallucinations are increasing. Citizens are reporting alien beings roaming in their presence, sands catching fire, and various other supernatural phenomena. The death toll continues to rise as new victims are discovered. Over 1,000 citizens were found dead today, victims of various fatal circumstances. Suffocation and dehydration were among the culprits. The viewer took a deep breath, turned off the set, and threw the remote to the side of his couch. Feeling thirsty, he went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. He took a glass from the cupboard and turned the faucet to the on position. Yes, that is usually how faucets work. The sink produced a clunking noise, but the faucet gave not a drop. Shit, not again. The man left his home and headed for the local market to pick up some bottled water. The heat was as oppressive as ever. The sweat on his brow accumulated quickly. He breathed heavily, with each breath harder than the last. After what seemed like hours, he finally reached his destination. The market was eerily inactive, the only noise being the annoying elevator music playing in the background. He found his water and searched for a clerk to pay for it. "Is anybody here? I want to buy this," the man yelled while pulling out a handkerchief to wipe his brow. After the futile attempt to find a sales clerk, he left the store with his unpaid item. Something was strange about tonight. It made sense that few people were about because of the heat, but this was extraordinary. He began his journey back to his house. He saw a group of people gathered together, gawking at something in the distance. He approached the onlookers. "What's going on? Is something the matter?" he inquired. "Look, do you see that hazy cloud in the distance?" a woman responded. "It's moving towards the city. We've been watching it for about an hour now, and it seems to be picking up speed. Yeah, I see it, his voice trembled. What in the hell could it be? Notice the way it moves. It's almost as though it's alive, another onlooker observed. Look, it's passing over that herd of sheep, shouted a woman. The ominous cloud rolled over the helpless animals. I would like to take this moment to remind people that we should all hail the glow cloud. It is benevolent to us. As the force passed, the crowd watched in horror as the flesh of the creatures began disintegrating from their bones. Oh my God, what is happening? Another woman screamed. Another pedestrian gazed at the sight in sheer terror. Mister, what should we do? She said, shaking in fear. Come on, we can take shelter in my house. The man began to run, urging others to follow him. One man collapsed in heat, dead from exhaustion. Then, as they approached the man's house, the other male member of the group succumbed to the plague. The cloud engulfed the man's being, ripping his flesh from his body in a disgusting display. The female onlooker and the owner of the house were the only members of the group that remained. The woman collapsed to the floor, crying desperately. What the hell is going on? This heat and now this, she sobbed. Maybe the news has something on about this. He picked up the remote from his couch and turned on the set. The familiar tagline of "Breaking News" was scrolled across the bottom of the screen. They sat and watched the images in horror. Again, I would also like to take this moment to remember we must all hail the glow cloud. Do not be afraid of the glow cloud. Let it embrace you. Let it take you to the wondrous place beyond. Do not run from the glow cloud. It is our savior. And the cloud just swooped into the city and started eating everything in sight. I saw a guy get caught in the cloud, and after it passed, there was nothing left of the guy. I'm telling you, this is the end of the world. This thing is... All right, thank you for that eyewitness account, sir, the newscaster interrupted. To update our new viewers, an unknown disease has engulfed Center City and the most of the Middle East. Projections on the casualty rate are not yet available. An address from Zomfer has not yet been scheduled. This is Trina Call, live from City Center for Global News Now. Suddenly, the now familiar organic movement of the plague appeared in the distance behind the telecaster. It advanced with tremendous speed. The camera captured the image of the reporter being mutilated by the cloud and collapsing dead on the street, a pile of bones. The cloud engulfed the camera's lens and obliterated everything. The man quickly turned the television set off. I think that's enough TV for tonight. The woman continued to cry and moan. The images burned into her mind. Listen, I think we're all right. If it hasn't gotten us yet, maybe it won't come near here, the man said in an attempt to comfort the distraught woman. I need a glass of water, the woman choked. Yeah, so do I. The two entered the kitchen. He retrieved 2 glasses from the cupboard and poured the bottled water. She stood behind him, awaiting her glass. Without looking, he handed the glass to her and she took it. And suddenly, her glass crashed to the floor. Shit, did I drop it? He asked. He looked in her direction. Her eyes were wider than 2 full moons, and her hands covered her mouth. She was staring out of the window. The man also turned to look. The cascading cloud of the plague confronted the man. The woman grabbed him in a deep embrace as the menace broke through the window and devoured them. Before we move on to Chapter 3, I will be taking a quick drink. I would also like to remind people who are watching that excuse me as I adjusted my chair, that if you would like to contribute to lessening my insanity, you can donate to the links in the pinned comment at the bottom of the chat. I take PayPal, I take Venmo, and I also take CashApp. If you are watching from the YouTube, you can also donate via Super Chat. I do have some new alerts that hopefully will help ease the boredom and the loss of brain cells. Thank you. We now continue with Chapter 3, The Reaction, November 23rd, 3033. Stroking his Fu Manchu, Zonfer studied the sizable pile of documents on his desk. The title page of the collection of papers read Incident Number 4004, the Plague. Immediately, he recalled his discussion with his main science officer. With a steady hand, the glow cloud did break into their residence. With a steady hand, Zonfer began to thumb through the incident report. As he scanned each document, his concern grew with each progressive paragraph. Gradually, and with contemplation, Zonfer began to accept reality. Initially, he had resisted, even denied the facts. However, by the conclusion of the report, heavy-hearted, he was forced to accept that what he held responsibility for. Yes, those damn clouds, always breaking the shit. In the depths of the evil tyrant psyche, a switch had been flipped. Long ago, before the formative events in his life had taken place, Zonfer had fought for peace and understanding between cultures. Long gone were those days, a mere heartbeat in time to him. Forced to accept the gravity of the situation, he contemplated the consequences of inaction and immediately began pondering a solution to the problem. He organized his top advisors and began a dialogue in pursuit of a viable way forward. Zonfer and his associates decided that an address to the populace concerning the catastrophe would be the logical next step. In classic Zonfer style, the address would be quick and to the point. In the past, leaders had orated for hours. The planet's inhabitants had grown weary of the long, tiresome speeches of their leaders, and Zonfer recognized this fact. His new flair embodied a much-needed and well-received change to the political culture. Again, I am not sure why much needed is one word. And the result of this change in the public relations arena was an attentive audience. This approach gave the people of Earth peace of mind. They thought their safety would remain unthreatened as long as Zonfer remained in power. While perhaps a deviant method of reassurance, it sufficed. Zonfer sat in his main office alone, his only company the whirling thoughts of how to present a palatable address. He slowly compiled his thoughts and recorded them as they came. As he worked, he realized how much of this entire situation depended on a power greater than himself. He contemplated, of all things, God. The seeing as believing leader noticed a strange brainwave pushing him in the direction of a faith-orientated speech. Apparently, the image that had accompanied the Middle East Council report had left an indelible mark on Zonfer's subconscious. Perhaps some soul-searching would be in his immediate future. Zonfer scribbled down notes on a small pad. He never warmed up to computers. Individuals around him thought it strange, but they respected it. He liked a pen in hand. He probably likes a pen up the ass as well. Soon, he entered full-on speech-writing mode. He carefully interjected a pinch of faith talk. Zonfer had never witnessed anything like the devastation the plague had caused, and the images were burned in his memory for a lifetime. The rise of this new, seemingly undefeatable foe forced him to think outside of the proverbial box. The seeds of change had taken root in Zonfer's mind, and there would be no turning back. Luckily for Earth, a new man would be birthed from the dark and eccentric leader who currently dominated the human race. At 9 o'clock International Time, on November 23rd, 3033, Zonfer appeared on all major news networks. He began, "People of Earth, thank you for tuning in. A time of great concern has arrived. 1 month ago, my science officer and I sat in my office and discussed a terrible situation that had arisen. He explained to me that a single-celled organism of unknown origin had surfaced in the Holy Land. He advised me not to concern the entire world with this because the organism inhabited a region of a very remote location, and the probability of this organism actually spreading and causing problems elsewhere was slim to none. I now regret this immensely. Yesterday, this organism attacked a part of the Holy Land. It was a tragedy on a grand scale. Over 10,000 perished. Now we must focus on what we do from here." The report stated that the problem showed no sign of returning. However, from studying the report that my biochemist gave me, I believe this will be a catastrophe that will resurface. Unfortunately, we have absolutely no way of fighting something that disappears within seconds of doing its damage. We are faced with a great problem, a dilemma that we can only pray we will never have to deal with again. I've come to you tonight to let you know that we are going to have to be strong. We're going to have to play this by ear. I guarantee you that I am doing all that I can to ensure your safety as inhabitants of Earth. We must unite. We must be strong. Thank you, and good night. The citizen Zonfer called his own had faith in him. The enigmatic enemy wasn't a tangible reality to them. Most wrote the emergency office a fluke, a freak occurrence. As far as most were concerned, it didn't require a second thought, but those ideas would soon change. Yes, Jason did want to make this into a movie. Can you imagine how it would have done in the box offices? I imagine it would have done spectacularly. If you could not notice from the sound of my very gentle voice, that was heavy with sarcasm. Chapter 4, Disaster, December 1st, 3033. The sun rose on New York City in the United States. The city had long been the capital of the world's economy, the base of operations for an inconceivable number of supercorporations lined the city streets. The roar of every possible method of transportation was deafening. People scuttled as they engaged in their morning routines. Shorts in December, many of them thought. Indeed, it was stranger weather than it had ever been. The sun hit the site of the Statue of Liberty first. It had been victimized by a terrorist attack in the year 2010 and had been neglected ever since. The now-defunct terrorist group Al-Qaeda claimed credit for the attack. The once graceful structure appeared to moan in pain. Liberty's crown was broken and her paint badly faded. I would like Jason to know, if he does read this, that you are incorrect. The Statue of Liberty is not painted. It is a copper statue, and the reason why it is colored green is due to oxidization of the copper itself. That is not paint. The scene was desolate, more than depressing, even in the beautiful morning sun. No one visited her anymore. She seemed lonely. The site of the World Trade Center disaster of 2001 remained dormant as well. Procrastination was an awful thing, but the former presidents of the country exercised it thoroughly. The promised memorial never materialized. There always seemed to be a bigger objective for the country. Those were times past. We must focus on the future. Zonfer assured them of a proper erection in 3040. He may have had a greater sense of urgency if it wasn't for the U.S.'s hard-headedness. The Zonfer administration longed for the day when the U.S. fully caved to Zonfer's will. It remained in a precarious situation, a New Age Cold War of sorts. Yes, he did assume that the Statue of Liberty. You have to remember that this was written before the World Trade Center Memorial was fully built, FML podcast. Also, knowing that we are in the year 2026, 16 years after the supposed attack on Lady Liberty, that Lady Liberty is fine and well. She is standing. The copper rusted. Yes, the copper did rust. It did rust. Lady Liberty is standing fine and well, glorious in her wonderful oxidized copper coating. During this time of year, it rarely got past 40 degrees Fahrenheit on the thermometer. Really, is that how you measure temperature on a thermometer? I was unaware. However, on this day, the temperature went far past the 90-degree mark. It was record-breaking. It was the highest temperature in the winter in the region since record-taking had begun. Early morning weather reports played on televisions throughout the city. Well, I thought I'd seen everything. 90 degrees in December. Armageddon, anyone? A weather reporter joked on a television in a coffee house. Yes, Rev was an idiot, even in the early 2010s. He was. To the north, near Sad Lady Liberty, a large cloud emerged. At first, most thought a cloud of smog had formed, but something was different about this cloud. Its movement was poetic, organic. I was unaware that someone could be both poetic, which is a phrase used to describe one's speech, and organic. It appeared to follow a path, billowing and churning forward. For a time, it covered the sun, and the sky was illuminated in a crimson red and midnight black, a physical manifestation of death itself. Jason, was this the black hole sun you described in your dream? Where you were at a bar in the middle of the earth, having cocktails with SS soldiers. With a black hole sun. Suddenly, the cloud came upon a prominent skyscraper. The paint melted and dripped down the side of the building like ice cream in a summer heat. Again, I must correct Jason. Skyscrapers are not painted. Deafening metallic groans resounded as a dying structure collapsed. Blood-curdling screams ensued upon the New York streets. It was flashback to the days past. Until now, the current generation only had nightmares of such horror. The enigma continued on its murderous path, with its next target a congested stretch of highway. The cloud passed over the left bridge first. A thunderous clang echoed throughout the entire city. The sound of sheer terror and brutal slaughter rang through New York. Citizens threw themselves upon the bridge guardrails in desperation, anything to escape the horror. Upon contact with the menace, a human body didn't stand a chance. Flesh, muscle, and bone alike were eviscerated. The only thing that emerged from the other side of the cloud was mangled and twisted pieces of metal mixed with pulpy human remains. An immediate response began. The first to arrive were the fire departments. A fire department chief approached the bridge and immediately gagged and vomited. It was an inhuman sight, incomparable to anything that had ever occurred before. The stench was unbearable, an indistinguishable combustion of metal, fuel, and flesh. The impregnated steel oozed with the spongy human remains. In the years following the 9/11 attacks, the NYFD had lived up to their new identity as keepers of the city. Every major incident since then had been handled almost entirely by the city's fire departments. Jason clearly did not watch the 9/11 coverage, otherwise he would know that it was not just the fire departments. It was also the police departments, as well, that responded to the tragedy. But of course I cannot expect Jason to remember news reports from some time that long ago. Even though when he wrote this book, it had only been 7 years since the 9/11 attacks. They responded in such a way that police weren't required to get involved in any way. In fact, the NYPD had become an almost obsolete tool in fighting most tragedies. The past 3 attempted attack plans were foiled by the fire department without any help from the various security departments. Islamic fundamentalism was not only a thing of the past, but it was far from hand-holding world peace. Threats to the city were still very real. This time, the fire department officials were baffled. The cloud had disappeared as fast as it had done the atrocious damage. The cleanup would be painful for the crew. The smell of rotting flesh grew stronger by the second. First the heat, and now this, the captain thought. Zonver's headquarters was awash in activity. The constant stream of advisors and underlings triumphed in and out of his office. The report of the NYC incident had just arrived on his desk. He was overcome by a sense of urgency. This time there would be more decisive action taken against the new phantom enemy. Zonfer decided, words are hard. Zonfer decided to declare martial law on the entire planet, and a productive quarantine was also in order. This was another first for the Zonfer administration. The action would not cause a problem within Zonfer's force structure. Zonfer's defense forces made it the largest military organization the world had ever seen. Each nation had a mandatory minimum number of active force members. The United States, always rebellious, remained the biggest minority in the organization. With incentives and coercion, Zonfer attempted to change the situation. Perhaps a show of concern would help unite the Zonfer administration and the United States. I would like to say to this fictional Zonfer, fat chance. What this new action would do still remained a mystery. Zonfer's method of thinking never changed. If you have an enemy, meet him face to face. This new enemy, however, was unapproachable. The best course of action would be to hunker down and defend as best as possible. Erectorbots. I wonder what they erect. Erectorbots would immediately begin building massive defense barracks. Older facilities would also be utilized. The human race would need to unite and fortify their homeland. The time had come to seriously discuss a viable plan of action. Zonfer organized a meeting with the top members of his defense force. Zonfer's communication panel began to beep. Sure. Sir, General Hayden is here to see you. Yes, I've been awaiting his arrival. Send him in, Zonfer responded. General Tyrone Hayden was the commanding officer of Zonfer's defense force. He was massive, standing 7 feet tall and weighing 350. His coffee-colored skin was marred with scars from years of combat. His black uniform fitted him perfectly. The Z crest was displayed prominently upon his right pectoral. He was a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. Former U.S. combatants were few but coveted. Statistically, they rose in rank faster than all other demographics. What is with Jason and describing African American men in such a sexualized manner? It does make one ponder. Good afternoon, General. I highly anticipated our meeting. I am hoping you will have a viable plan of action, Zonfer began. Sir? Queried Hayden, confused. Naturally, I turn to you, my defense force general, in such a plan of attack, Zonfer responded matter-of-factly. I understand, sir, but I really don't see how to fight an enemy of this sort. Maybe the best defense is a good defense, sir? Hayden responded confidently. I would say from the question mark at the end of that sentence, he was not very confident in his statement. Preparations are already in order for defense, General. I want to fight this thing. Hayden looked puzzled. He searched for a response. Given the circumstances, sir, may I make a bold suggestion? That's what I pay you for, General, Zonfer said blankly. Planetary evacuation, Hayden said. Zonfer glared into the massive man's eyes with vitriol. It wasn't deliberate. Hayden had confirmed his worst fears. Deep within himself, Zonfer knew. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. That is not a plan. General, that is a cop-out, Zonfer exploded. Hayden was unaffected. I don't know what you want me to say, sir. You know what I know about this enemy. How can we possibly fight something that we can't begin to understand, let alone face? Our forces will simply be fodder for this thing. I refuse to knowingly send my men into their certain death. A better way to phrase that would be, I refuse to knowingly send my men to their certain deaths. You are speaking of plural persons, therefore there would be plural deaths. Zonfer's rage boiled underneath the surface. Your forces? Have I ceased to be, General? Zonfer felt his anger approaching the point of no return. Hayden recoiled. He knew he had gone too far. No, sir, I'm sorry. He paused to contemplate his next words. I'm not telling you to do anything I'm not telling you anything you don't already realize, sir. We're at the mercy of this thing. If it wants us dead, we're going to be dead. Hayden's tones changed, and suddenly he had an idea. Sir? Yes, General? Are you a religious man? Zonfer smiled wryly. I never was, General. Why? I heard your speech last night. I was touched. I've always had faith. I thought I was the only one nowadays. To hear your words, I think we need to think about that more. Prayer, sir. That might be all we've got now. Zonfer shook his head in bewilderment. That will be all, General. Hayden clicked his heels and quickly turned to exit. General, Zonfer quickly said. Sir, Hayden responded without responding. Do that. What, sir? Pray. All right, we will be taking a brief break before we go on to Chapter 5. Let us discuss what we have read so far. What are your thoughts? see, none of this really makes sense. Maybe I'm too stoned, but not a lick of sense. No, it does not make sense. Tyrone had just returned from his lobster and steak dinner. Oh, wait, yes, that is quite amusing, Redfeather. Imagine the Doomslayer finding himself in this universe. I don't think I want to. So let us discuss what we have read so far. So far, I am confused. I am baffled. I have no idea what is going on. Yes, responded without responding. Exactly. That is the kind of tripe that we are reading today, folks. Yes, I hate it as well. But I did promise that if I got $20 in my last stream, that I would live read this. And you should also know that I'm also blind reading it, just so you guys can make fun of my reading comprehension. And BE was itself a steaming pile written by a hack. What is BE? I would like to know. I will be taking this moment to step away real quickly, to grab a jacket, because it is rather chilly in my house. Yes, we have to pray the clouds away. So, listen to this wonderful, relaxing music, and I will be right back to continue the story. Yes, Jason does want this to be made into a movie. Yes, I have also read better fan fictions. I've written better fan fictions. Back in middle school. Take one more drink. I would also like to remind people that if you wish to donate to lessen my insanity, you definitely can. I take PayPal, I take Venmo, and I also take CashApp. If you're watching on YouTube, you can trigger the new alerts that I have just made with a super chat or even a membership. I trust you. You will enjoy these new alerts. Now, back to the story. No, Sydney, you cannot leave. You are not allowed to leave. If I am not able to leave, you are not able to leave. Those are the rules. Chapter 5, A Tyrant's Final Murder, January 3034. The plague was relentless as ever. The slaughters continued. Scientific studies were constantly being performed on the available data in an attempt to uncover vulnerability in the foe. Zonfer's science department, headed by Dr. Helmut Tabor, worked 24/7 on that matter. This was the subject of the current meeting. Tabor stood in the middle of Zonfer's office. Sir, I tried to tell you months ago. This was a serious problem. You decided to ignore me. In fact, you threatened me into not giving a recommendation that I thought was the right one. Now, we are at a point where the only option is planetary evacuation. If I hear that one more time from anyone, I swear that person will end up in a grave. Zonfer's patience wore frightfully thin. Usually timid, Tabor finally grew impatient. Sir, I don't know what you want from me. I am giving you my honest and best opinion on this matter. We have lost 3/4 of our military power in less than a month. That is unmatched by anything that has ever happened in history, especially since the reserves had over 30 billion men and women ready for deployment. This seems like the only plausible solution. I will never consider this as an option. There must be something that can be done about this. Zonfer paused and thought for a while. Tabor began. Sir, may I suggest we take the defensive to another level? Intrigue bubbled in Zonfer's mind. Please do tell, Tabor. Well, sir, I was thinking, could the oxygen supply to the planet be temporarily rerouted to a central location? I guess this may be possible. I would have to discuss this with my construction consultant. What is your idea? It is a very simple idea. We make a supercraft, essentially a man-made planet, like the idea that Tokyo had to make more living space for their residents. We outfit it with the latest aeronautical. Again, I apologize. Words are hard. Aeronautical technology, and be ready to leave the planet when necessary. I think this would be possible now that we have the type of machinery that would make this a doable plan. Zonfer contemplated. Yes, you are correct that we have the machinery necessary to make such a craft. The erector bots have been working tirelessly since the beginning of this catastrophe. However, do we have the materials necessary to make such a massive structure? You must remember, we would be housing the entire planet. Yes, this could pose a problem. This is a question that I could not answer. Let me brainstorm with my colleagues on the matter and I will return. Tabor exited the office, frustrated at the leader for not heeding his warning. He muttered to himself in disgust. He fiddled with his close-cut black hair in frustration. As he walked to his destination, he adjusted his glasses. In fury of his frustration, he broke the left stem. Son of a... he muttered to himself. Zonver's headquarters bustled with activity. The entryways to the various offices emitted a neon glow from monitors and various research and communication terminals. Zonfer's headquarters was a combination of a majestic palace and logistical base of operations. Zonfer had experts and consultants based all over the world. The headquarters represented Zonfer's hub, where all problems found solutions. Yes, we do have the technology. We absolutely do. Unfortunately, Missy Cats, I do not have the funds to obtain such alcohol. Plus, after I am finished with this, because again, I will be limiting these streams to 2 hours, just to ensure that I do not completely lose my voice reading the entire book all in one go. After I'm finished with this, I will be going out to do some door dashing. Maybe then I can raise some funds to buy enough alcohol to fully numb my senses from the insanity that I have just read. Tabor couldn't believe that Zonfer had the nerve to call on him and complain when he wanted Zonfer to warn the inhabitants. He was sure to be the scapegoat if things went south, and he knew it. His reputation as a scientist depended on the successful outcome of his brainchild. Yes, feel bad for me. Or you could donate. If you donate to Super Chats, you will trigger one of my new alerts, which I'm sure will make everybody much happier. Tabor entered the office of Donald Conlon. He was a dapper man with a 5 o'clock shadow upon his face and longish brown hair. His suit was impeccable. Donald was a materials expert on the Zonfer Council. He was known to have words with Zonfer from time to time. Good evening, Don. I was just in Zonfer's office. What is he bitching at you for now? Don't take anything from him. He's no better than you or me. Yeah, easy for you to say. I'd like to keep my job and my life. Anyway, the reason I'm here is to ask you about a materials matter. Conlon smiled and snickered. Shoot. Can you come up with enough hard materials to develop a craft that could support the entire population of Earth? Tabor's tone was blank. A craft that would carry the whole human race? Piece of cake. Conlon was speechless. Well, I'd have to look at the numbers. Do that, Tabor said, exiting quickly. Tabor entered Zonfer's office once again. My colleagues need time to perform various calculations on logistics of this idea. Excellent, said Zonfer. This may be a solution. I must continue on your troubleshooting. A promotion may be in your future, if any of us have a future. This idea may just give all of Earth a future that is worth living, not running and leaving this beautiful planet to be eaten by that evil. I sincerely hope we don't need to leave this planet. Sir, your courage is amazing. Most leaders before you would cower and run. The fact you are steadfast in the face of such turmoil is admirable. I commend you. I am a different type of leader, Tabor. I thought you knew this by now. The first man to actually rule Earth? Napoleon tried it, but I did it. It is truly impressive, sir, Tabor responded in less than a sincere tone. Thank you, Tabor. I've been thinking, Doctor. What difference would it have made if I did tell the citizens about this? The only thing that I could foresee happening is mass panic. Enlighten me, Tabor, please. Tabor scratched his upper lip. He then wrapped his bottom lip over his top. He was nervous. Zonfer had an odd air about him. He seemed distant and cold, more than normal. He stared unblinkingly at the mousy science officer. Well, sir, my thoughts are... With these words, blood poured from Tabor's mouth. He squirmed in his seat and retched. He then realized what had just transpired. Zonfer had used a toxic substance on the door handle. Tabor fell in a heap on the ground. Sir, I don't understand, he choked. I thought we understood each other. I thought we had worked out everything. Zonfer folded his hands emotionless. I told you, Tabor. No one makes a fool of me and lives to tell about it. Tabor gasped his last breath. Zonfer had always been known to grossly overreact to people correcting him or questioning his authority. Perhaps it was his ego. Soon after this took place, the person found himself or herself in a morgue. Zonfer didn't get to where he was by being forgiving. Oh, yes, I understand. Yes, Max. We are all confused. But the main character, apparently, of this current portion of the book is a dictator named Zonfer. The main reason that he controlled himself was because of the sanctions that the United States government had placed on him since the assassination attempts on the senators. The United States remained the main focus of Zonfer's aggression. He respected the authority of the government, but grew tired of the constant sanctions they put on him. However, the United States Armed Forces has always been one of history's most formidable combat organizations. Of Zonfer's international force, the largest minority remained North American males. Time, however, did not side with the Americans. It was only a matter of time before the international force took over the U.S. military as well. The task proved to be a daunting one. However, this battle had not been won on the battlefield. Recently, the forces had negotiated with D.C. In fact, this occurrence was so recent that Tabor had no idea of the news. This was unfortunate to Tabor, since Zonfer's influence finally made the U.S. cave. The sanctions had been put in place by the United States. The sanctions that had been put in place by the United States were no longer of any importance. One of the clauses in the sanctions was that Zonfer could not indiscriminately murder people. If this sanction were to be violated, he would be subject to military action. Needless to say, there was no longer an issue. The tyrant remained tyrannical. Tabor would be Zonfer's last thrill kill. I'm having to lick my lips, folks. Reading all of this is very dry work. Chapter 6. Zonfer's Emission. Late January to April 3034. End of Earth timeline. After Tabor's untimely demise, Zonfer decided to go through with his drastic solution to the problem. The idea of planetary evacuation was quickly becoming the operative plan. The report from Conlin was optimistic. This would be no easy task, even with the advanced machinery that would be performing the work. Materials turned out to be the least of Zonfer's worries. The main problem would be time involved to create the craft. The estimated amount of time would be 1 to 3 years. Something would have to be done in the meantime. Although he opposed it at first, the Renaissance, as it became known, was fitted with engines. Its transition to a massive spacecraft took shape. This was more than the first intergalactic bus. It was a dream. It was a vision. It would be mankind's second chance. Zonfer once again went to his military advisors for a solution. He met with Hayden and found nothing but contemptuous criticism of how the problem was being handled so far. This, to say the least, did not make Zonfer happy. He stormed out of the meeting with his entourage following close behind. He vowed to himself that he would make the critics pay for their remarks someday. Reports of Zonfer's murdering ways circulated throughout the press. His approval rating was plummeting. Zonfer was concerned about resistance groups. Recently, various attacks had been attempted on his headquarters. Individuals dressed in street clothes had a red fist insignia plastered across their chests. It appeared that a tangible resistance force was forming. Zonfer hoped it wasn't true. It was a cold day in Zonfer Square in Vienna, Austria. The dampness on the steel building walls froze immediately. The smell of the early winter bloomed. The winters were longer now because of the environmental situation. This was a moot point with the citizens. At some point, they had just stopped caring. 95% of the Earth's air had been polluted beyond repair. Smog and filth floated in the atmosphere. On certain occasions, one could taste it. Apparently now we have moved on from a biblical... Unfortunately, I do not have any handy. It seems as though we have now moved on from a biblical plague to climate change. The motorcade left Zonfer's headquarters deep in the Austrian mountains. The glossy dark paint on the large utility vehicles glistened in the earthling sun. That was a strange term phrase. The earthling sun. Is he saying that the sun is coming from a random earthling? Zonfer sat in silence as he contemplated his meeting with the CGC. The low hum of the vehicle's engine rumbled in his chest. It was comforting. This was a welcome rest before he had to deal with the council members. The meetings were increasingly tense. Zonfer sensed the council's disdain for him. However, he knew he needed them. They were bright individuals, and their wisdom was priceless. The motorcade quickly approached its destination. The cylindrical shape of the erection, was awe-inspiring. A cylindrical erection. I'm beginning to think that even back in 2008, Jason had an obsession with large, thick, hard, cylindrical objects. He gazed at the structure in delight. A smile crept upon his face. The transports came to a slow stop. Two large-framed men dressed in Zonfer's Defense Force garb flanked both sides of Zonfer's vehicle. They tapped the window, signaling an all clear. Zonfer's black and golden garments glistened in the morning sun. His cloak rippled gracefully through the light breeze. Any sign of joy or delight was long dead upon Zonfer's countenance. He was all business now. The door cycled open and shut on the central governing complex in Vienna. The inside wasn't nearly as appealing as the outside. Plain stainless steel walls, bland black floors. It was a typical government facility. He stood outside the main chamber. He dreaded the meeting. He knew he had mishandled the situation from the onset. This wouldn't be pretty. The CGC had been in the place where Zonfer met with his advisors for years. He had a meeting on this day with most of the members of the Alliance for Peace. This was an organization of leaders of each nation around the world. Zonfer appointed each of these leaders himself. They had been waiting on Zonfer for a good amount of time. This was often the case. Many of his advisors had grown tired of Zonfer's disrespect. He often acted as if they were peons. I would like to quote World of Warcraft peons. Me, not that kind of orc. The meeting was about to begin. The council speaker announced, "Zonfer in chamber." The members of the council rose, a panel of a couple thousand men. They were dressed in boring attire, basic suits and ties. A muted hiss heard from a few unknown locations. Zonfer's eyes bounced from man to man. This was the first time in a long time Zonfer had felt nervous. Nonetheless, his expression remained angry and stoic. "Be seated, everyone." The rattle of seats commenced. "I meet with you today with a heavy burden on my conscience. We all know of my lack of foresight in this matter, and I ask you to forgive me." Muted chatter erupted. Could it be the unquestionable Zonfer admitting fault? "Order," the council speaker yelled. Zonfer continued, "I hope to not be interrupted again." I have received no usable advice from my military advisors and have decided that you are the final hope for a solution. The plague has played hell on the population in affected areas. My science advisor had told me that this plague showed signs of spreading randomly throughout the nations of the planet. Neither the origin nor the physical composition of the plague is known. The only thing that is definite is that it first showed up in the center city near the Holy Land and then in NYC. The random nature of the plague makes it next to impossible to defend against. I am hoping that some of you have more productive ideas for defending against it. We know it can literally destroy anything. What I am looking for from you are suggestions as to what we can do collectively as a whole. This is a time of great peril. We need to put behind us any differences we've had in the past. The fate of our race is at stake. We have had challenges in the past, but nothing as defining in our history as this. The entire fate of the world lies in our hands. What we do will forever decide the world's fate. Will Earth remain the domain of the human race? We will seriously have to consider this question. I discussed this matter with all of my personal advisors and have had no luck in finding a solution. This is why I stand before you today. I put my trust in you to govern the various nations around the world. Prove to me that I did not make a mistake. Show me that the trust I have instilled in you was not misspent. Zonfer has addressed the council. Council members may now yield and make comments or ask questions, the council speaker announced. May I yield? Councilman Feldman of the Holy Lands yields, the speaker confirmed. Sir, as you are well aware, I have dealt with this situation personally. We have discussed this together on several occasions. You made it quite clear that the human race would not tire. We would wait this out, find an alternative means of survival until this menace left our domain. I find it quite hard to swallow that with all of the advisors' advice. You cannot come up with an alternative to leaving the planet. Zonfer steamed. May I yield? The moderator confirmed, and Zonfer spoke. I don't appreciate the tone in your voice, Feldman. I have discussed this with every advisor, and they don't have the first clue as to how to handle the situation. This isn't exactly a textbook problem. The human race has never faced an enemy like this before. There is no weakness to this phenomenon. May I yield? Feldman retorted. It was confirmed. I was under the impression that we could speak freely, Zonfer. I guess even in this time of peril you cannot be questioned. Loud chatter cascaded across the expansive boardroom. Zonfer began to realize that most, if not all, of the council had lost respect for him. He needed them, however. He knew that they were the last hope of the human race. Zonfer adjusted his tone. Feldman, do you think I want to do this? Do you actually think I would leave the planet for the fun of it? We're losing citizens, councilmen, and women. This needs to end. Feldman continued. My concern is how we will get all of the inhabitants of Earth on a vessel. I discussed this with you some time ago and suggested that we evacuate, but you would have no part in it. In fact, you were quite offended that I would even suggest it. Now, here we stand with countless attacks behind us, millions dead, cities in ruin, and still no concrete plan as to how to get out of the situation. I see only one thing to do, and that thing has not changed since we spoke on that day. We must evacuate. I am calling for a vote. Zonfer hung his head low. Feldman was correct. Nothing could change that reality. This was why Zonfer needed the council. They were about to do what needed to be done. The moderator confirmed. The electronic voting panels exploded in light in front of each councilperson. The panels read, Councilman Feldman has called for a vote on a Earth evacuation, yea or nay. Zonfer waited in suspense. The moderator tallied the votes. The results of the vote, a unanimous yea. Conversation rounded in the corridors of the CGC. Word would certainly spread quickly. This obviously was a huge turning point in Earth's history, an exodus of mass proportion. Zonfer left the CGC quickly, with no conversation. The atmosphere was intolerable to him. He felt the council's hatred. It was palpable. Thankfully for Zonfer, all eyes would be trained on the progress of the Renaissance. Zonfer could take a back seat for now. Oh, thank you so much, Maximum Slack. I apologize for any mispronunciations or stumbling. Words are, however, very hard. But again, before we begin Chapter 7, I would also like to just remind people that if you appreciate the sacrifice that I am making in reading this absolute pile of garbage, you can donate. You can donate through my CashApp. You can donate through my PayPal. You can also donate through my Venmo. Links are in the pinned comment in the chat. If you are watching on the YouTubes, you can also donate through a super chat. As I stated before, I have created some new alerts that I'm sure that everyone will enjoy, as we all suffer through this abomination of literature. Let me take another drink. Thank you. We have about 30 minutes left in the stream. Again, as I stated before, I am limiting these to 2 hours apiece, so that way I will not entirely lose my voice reading this tripe. It is not worth it. Chapter 7. Construction Revealed. Another day began. Zonfer awoke to the same unfortunate progress reports from the plague-afflicted regions. It appeared to be spreading at an alarming rate. The latest science report taunted Zonfer. He opened it and skimmed its contents. More of the same. No progress. He scowled and pressed on his temples in frustration. Zonfer's disappointment was not only in the council, but also in himself. In fact, mostly himself. He always strove to pursue the best possible solution to a problem. Over the years, he had become arrogant. Toward the end of the Earth timeline, he began to think himself almost godlike. Taking life when and where he chose became a grotesque habit. It took this disaster to snap Zonfer out of the haze of power he'd been living in for years. Zonfer never had the foresight to recognize the problem of having to face an enemy that even he was weak and powerless against. Zonfer was in the solutions business, but this was different. This defied logic. When faced with this catastrophe, he experienced fear for the first time. When Zonfer witnessed the effects that the plague had had on its victims, he was affected in a way that he never experienced before. The mutilation was a shocking sight even to him. In the hours leading up to the evacuation planning, Zonfer had time to reflect on his empire and what his impact on history would be. Had this plague come about because of him? Had he needed this wake-up call? Was this a takedown executed by a higher power? Historians would decide Zonfer's role in the world, not he. Now he knew without a doubt that he needed to focus on saving mankind. Talk had been surfacing about an evacuation to the planet of Tento. Initially, the citizenry thought of this as a joke. Surely no one would choose to live in such a place. The idea of moving to such a barren wasteland did not appeal to the masses. But the truth was that this was the only possible planet that could support life much like life on Earth had thrived for billions of years. It had the biological requirements to sustain the amount of life that Earth supported. Is it just me, or was that a repeat sentence? However, the planet was severely underdeveloped. There were only a few dilapidated buildings remaining on the landscape of Tento. The Erector Bots would have a field day with the development of Tento City. For the time being, the Earth's inhabitants would reside in the supercraft, the Renaissance. While the construction of cities and towns took place, the citizens would adapt to the new surroundings of Tento. I am unsure, Pagan Mama, why you did not receive a notification that Storytime with Shaw had started. I also did post this into the Discords that we share as well, but again, welcome to Storytime with Shaw. Just when Zonfer thought his day would be dominated by negativity, General Hayden entered with a massive stack of documents. Are you sure that was the only massive thing that General Hayden entered with? Hayden began, Sir, I have come to you with good news. The bots are close to completion of the craft. Mr. Riddick has requested your presence. I have visited the craft and come to tell you that I am very optimistic about our future. The craft is of sound architecture and is aesthetically pleasing. The people of Earth will be pleased. I am extremely pleased to hear this, General, exclaimed Zonfer. What documents have you brought me? This is a report of progress from Mr. Riddick. He has informed me that the craft will be done in a matter of months, not years. This is excellent news. The plague attacks have been increasing in rate steadily. I have never seen anything like this, General. Have you seen the footage? Hayden swallowed hard. Yes, sir. The science department requested I study it and show it to the force. I don't really understand why. I guess so that we'll know what to expect during recovery missions. First time I saw it, I nearly lost my lunch. Zonfer narrowed his attention. Understandable, General. No one should be used to that kind of devastation. Yes, sir, I guess so. The sooner we call that spaceship our home, the better, Hayden said, shifting his weight to his right leg. Absolutely, General, Zonfer said. He gazed up at his office clock. Let's get going. I don't want to keep Mr. Riddick waiting. Zonfer's transport approached the construction hangar. The latest incarnation of the Griffin Wing dropship neared the destination. The designated construction area was the Sierra Desert. The Erector bots had their hands full with this project. Again, I always giggle in my head whenever I hear the term Erector bots. The craft was inconceivably massive. Nothing like it had ever been attempted in the past. Zonfer was making history again. Riddick was standing near the front of the hangar. He waved the Griffin Wing down. It landed and Zonfer and Hayden emerged. Hello, sir, Riddick said. Greetings, Mr. Riddick. I am anticipating seeing your progress, Zonfer said in his less than commanding voice. Follow me, sir. Zonfer, Hayden, and Riddick entered the hangar. They were confronted with the wonderment of the flagship Renaissance. Small pod-like machines with long steel arms welded and checked their work. Seeing the Erector bots at work was an amazing sight. Erector bots. Well, here she is, sir, Riddick declared confidently. Fantastic. I don't quite know what to say, Mr. Riddick, Zonfer said. It was true. He was speechless. He looked at General Hayden. He smiled and nodded in agreement. Shall we enter? Riddick asked. Absolutely, Zonfer responded enthusiastically. They approached the entry ramp. Riddick entered a code on the keypad and stepped back. You better stand back, gentlemen, Riddick said. All three men paced back slowly. They peered toward the ceiling of the hangar. The massive entry ramp to the Renaissance gracefully lowered to the hangar floor. It was almost silent. A barely audible hum pervaded the hangar. Wow, Hayden whispered. Zonfer stood, arms crossed, in a wide silent stance. As the ramp touched down, the three men entered the commons area. There was activity in every corner of the craft, workers welding panels and checking if they were secure, scientists conducting experiments on the air, in the enclosed spaces, and various other detailed activities. Riddick was a fit man, standing 6 feet 4 inches tall. He was formerly a hitman for an organized crime family in Italy. Riddick had come to the attention of Zonfer when he had been assigned to assassinate Zonfer. Needless to say, Riddick was not successful. Zonfer decided to keep Riddick alive and use him as an asset. Riddick had come closer than anyone before him to actually getting the job done. It turned out this was a good judgment call on Zonfer's part. It turned out that Riddick was a contractor for a large corporation before he had taken up the business of being a hitman. There had been several attempts on Zonfer's life over the years. No one ever came close to the man himself. Zonfer had developed the best and most effective security force ever known by any man. The fact that Zonfer was, or had been, untouchable. The fact was that Zonfer was, or had been, untouchable. If someone wanted to get to Zonfer, they would have to get to him through the security force. Well, sir, what do you think? Riddick inquired. I don't know how to respond to that question, Mr. Riddick. I'm astounded. Your work is to be commended. I knew your worth when I recruited you, but I never foresaw anything close to something like this. It's amazing. Zonfer kindly responded, certainly out of character. Thank you, sir. I have to admit, I have impressed myself. When Don Canlid approached me with the idea, I wasn't really sure that this was possible. I can't take all the credit, though. The Erector bots are lifesavers. Again, Erector bots. He could have called them something else. He really could have. Constructor pots. Builder bots. Why erector bots? Riddick motioned to one of the hovering bots working. Zonfer nodded in agreement. They are amazing. How long until the artificial atmosphere is up? I want to witness that firsthand when it happens. The scientists are about a week away from perfecting it. Mind you that this will last forever. So this craft will be able to be used even after the cities on Tento are built. If the unfortunate situation that we have here on Earth were to happen on Tento, we could use this as a lifeboat, Riddick informed. Zonfer flinched at the mere notion that something like this would ever happen again. Not on his watch, anyway. This was one thing that Zonfer had not worked out. There was no heir apparent to the throne of the human race. What Zonfer intended on doing was to give the governing powers back to the people of Earth. He believed that after years of rule under himself, that the people of Earth would be ready for a change. But the people of Earth had learned to live fairly simple lives, aside from CEOs of large companies. Most of these people lived lavish lives of luxury and pampering. In this simple mindset, crime had been virtually eradicated. Zonfer was to thank for this. He had done the unspeakable of politically cleansing half of the population of Earth. This did, however, result in the preposterous times under Zonfer's control. Prosperous. I promise you that I can read, folks. This did, however, result in the prosperous times under Zonfer's control. The citizenry feared Zonfer. His ultimate intention of the great slaughter had been realized. No one dared challenge him. This plague made Zonfer think about the consequences to actions. What did the plague ultimately mean? Zonfer turned to General Hayden. Sorry for ignoring you, General. I guess I'm rather engrossed with this. Don't think twice, sir. Thank you. This is your moment. Zonfer nodded to Hayden and cracked a half-smile. Now, with the Exodus at hand, Zonfer was writing a new chapter in the book of human history. For the first time ever, Earth would no longer be the domain of the human race. He was proud of his accomplishments. Most of the population had now rallied behind their leader. There were a select few sects of the population that were protesting the evacuation and were refusing to leave. They were, however, a very small minority. Most of the population had recognized the dangers in the plague and were excited about leaving for Tento. Zonfer was pleased with Riddick's progress. He saw a sound craft that appealed to the eyes while being extremely effective and efficient in its design. Zonfer began, Well, Mr. Riddick, I am very impressed. You have made quite a lot of progress. I am very pleased of the status of the schedule. I can't wait to see the artificial atmosphere up and running. I look forward to meeting with you again. Thank you, sir. Zonfer shook Riddick's hand in a firm grip. Hayden did the same. He was truly pleased at the progress that the project had made. Zonfer and Riddick appeared on all of the major news networks. In a news conference at the hangar, they gave the inhabitants of Earth a preview of the craft that they would call home for a time. It was a welcome break from the constant coverage of plague attacks. The Exodus was at hand, and the population was jubilant about the situation. There were large celebrations. The mood had changed completely. The streets were cold in New York, but the atmosphere was not. People gathered and celebrated their chance at a new start. It felt like a New Year's Eve bash. A bar on the corner of Fifth Avenue was packed with many citizens. Televisions inside lit up with optimistic images of Zonfer greeting people. The headlines on the papers read, A New Beginning. Then, as the celebrations continued, a griffin wing appeared in the distance. Look, do you see that? One of the onlookers on Fifth Avenue exclaimed. People, as they heard the commotion, paused from their activities to observe the grandiose entrance. The dropship neared Fifth Avenue. It found the designated building and landed. Zonfer emerged from the craft and waved to the now frantic crowd. A podium was conveniently present. Of course it was. This is my reading voice. All major news outlets were there. After a greeting, Zonfer approached the podium and began. People of Earth, a new era is upon us. The death and destruction of the past decades is behind us. I make a new pledge to you on this day. Tento is the next step for the human race. We must all pull together. Unfortunately, those who died in the attack on New York were not the last to die in the name of this plague. It has claimed far too many lives. Many may say that we are bending in the face of this evil. I beg to differ. You, the people of the human race and the inhabitants of Earth, are showing great courage. You are leaving the only place that mankind has known as home for the past several million years. This, my friends, takes enormous courage, and I bow to you. I bow to you because of the enormous task you are undertaking. Some of you may be saying goodbye to loved ones that have decided to stay. To you, I also bow. So I call on you, citizens of Earth, to come to Zonfer Square in Vienna. This is where the launch will take place. There is no fee to board. This is a flight for life, a flight for the future, a flight to remember. We are all God's children, and we must unite to overcome this burden of the plague. I was not a man of faith before this menace. The plague has shown me that God is real. God is watching over us, and God allowed us this great opportunity of life. I, as your leader, have taken this chance for life, and I believe that God himself helped the people who built the craft, the Renaissance. This is a renewal of faith and life. This is a new beginning. Thank you. The onlookers exploded in cheers of joy and some confusion. Where did all this come from? Chapter 8. Before we begin Chapter 8, I'm going to take a brief pause because I do need to refresh my drink. Please continue listening to the relaxing sounds of the music, and I will return in just a few moments. Thank you for your patience, everyone. I have renewed my drink. I would also like to remind people that if you would like to see some bouncy, round, soft objects on your screen, you can send a super chat or become a member, and they will appear on the screen and distract us from the insanity that we are currently undergoing. So now we begin with Chapter 8, the new beginning and the resistance. The crowd was truly amazing. The line could have been for miles. No one could begin to estimate the amount of people that came to Zonfer Square that day. This was not the day they would leave, however. That was still months away. The people were excited to see the amazing craft for the first time. They were mesmerized by its sheer size. No one had ever seen such a grand craft before. There were millions of rooms throughout the Renaissance. Every corridor could hold countless inhabitants. There was also a humbling experience for the affluent people of Earth. They knew that they would be living like everyone else for some time to come, but strangely enough, none of them cared. Most people truly believed that this was a new day in the lives of every person on the face of the earth. People were giving up everything to take part in this new culture. Zonfer had done it again. Never had the people of Earth been this united. The new beginning had begun. Zonfer was meeting with people in the Renaissance. Most people were casual and very thankful to Zonfer. Zonfer spoke to them about his newfound faith and the future of the human race. Optimism was the new attitude. Negativity was no longer a word that anyone understood. Zonfer stood at the entry ramp of his crowning achievement. General Hayden stood next to him in a strong posture. His assault rifle rested across his chest, ready for combat. The line of citizens of all ethnicities and creeds approached the seemingly humble leader and greeted him. "Hello, sir. It's so exciting to meet you in person. Thank you for this opportunity," a middle-class woman exclaimed, shaking Zonfer's hand vigorously. "The pleasure is all mine, miss. Please enter and enjoy," he said humbly. Hayden couldn't help but smile. He had never seen the side of Zonfer. Not many had. The stream of humanity continued, and Zonfer enjoyed every second. A large-framed man dressed in old, tattered Austrian armed forces fatigues stood motionless in the background. His longish brown hair fell into his pitch-black eyes. His stare was terrifying. His massive arms were folded in front of him. An ancient standard-issued sidearm was strapped to his thigh. He showed no sign of interest. In fact, one surmised that the man felt contempt for the people that surrounded him. "Pathetic," he muttered to himself. Then a few individuals behind the man unfurled a massive banner. Painted on it was a large red fist in a circle. Behind our seething onlookers stood members of the resistance. The man that stood in the forefront was known as Blaine Dankin. He had been organizing an opposition group to Zonfer's power for years. Through no effort of their own, Zonfer and Dankin had an intertwined past. They had served in the AAF together during the War for Humanity. Both of them had also been inductees of the controversial Warrior Program, a scientific experiment in the pursuit of a super soldier. Dankin also had held a combat position in Zonfer's Defense Corporation for a period. All of that seemed like ancient history to both of them. Dankin thrived on war and death. The years of peace under Zonfer's rule had sickened the unstable man. In hopes of sparking a huge conflict, he and his resistance had been attempting to provocate attacks on Zonfer's outposts for years now. Dankin stood away from the crowd with a maniacal grin on his grim, scarred face. "I love the smell of rocket fuel. Don't you smell it?" he sighed. A voice from behind him responded, "Yes, sir." Even though he never spoke the language anymore, he still had a heavy Austrian accent. There were many times when he gave orders to his men and they failed to obey him only because they didn't understand him. Many men had died for this fatal mistake. Most of the globe spoke English exclusively. The UN had declared it the language of free nations. Hence the generations afterward inherited it. Dankin was old enough to remember the days when each nation had their own way of doing things. Now it was the Zonfer way or death. Not while he was still breathing. Dankin vowed to be the monkey wrench in Zonfer's new beginning. He was sickened by Zonfer's display of affection for the inhabitants. Dankin was colored by his experiences of war. He had no more faith in the human race. He thought every person was a corrupt entity. The crowd began to respond to the resistance jeers. Zonfer heard the commotion and peered in the direction of the large group. He observed the massive banner looming over the group. He immediately recognized the red flag. Zonfer tapped Hayden on the shoulder. "You see that, General?" "Yes, sir. I saw them earlier. I was hoping they wouldn't start a scene," Hayden said as he gripped his assault rifle. "Well, I guess it was inevitable. We know they've been trying to start a war for years now. This would be the perfect opportunity." "Dankin, damn you." Zonfer's gaze was concentrated on the leader of the resistance. An amalgamation of memory suddenly attacked his psyche. Things he thought he had buried long ago. He decided not to prolong the inevitable. I'm going to go try to take care of this, General. Keep an eye on the situation. Have the force ready, Zonfer said. Yes, sir. Are you sure you don't want me to back you up? Hayden responded. No, General. I'll handle Dankin. Zonfer walked toward the group of rabid resistance members. His stride was deliberate and unwavering. His Redfield assault rifle hung upon his shoulder. He approached the gathering. What the hell are you doing here? Zonfer exploded. Zonfer, nice to see you too, old friend. Is this not a public affair, Wolf? Dankin grinned at Zonfer with a sarcastic grimace. Zonfer's eyes blazed with anger. No one called him that, especially not the likes of Dankin. Get your filthy crew out of here, Zonfer spat. The resistant member began to lunge forward. Dankin immediately interceded with his monstrous arm. Hold it. There can't be a war without opposition, Jason. The resistance member stood down. Zonfer's patience grew thin. I know what you're planning, and I won't stand idle and let it happen. You said it yourself, Zonfer. This is a gathering for all of us, the pathetic inhabitants of Earth. Dankin sarcastically laughed and shook his head. Zonfer briefly peered at General Hayden, who was watching every second of the conversation as he oversaw the elated citizens' entry to the Renaissance. You all right, sir? Hayden inquired on the comm channel. Zonfer nodded. Earth. What a shithole of a place this is. I wouldn't send my worst enemy to live here. Except you, Zonfer. You deserve these idiots, these mindless vermin. Why do you bother with them, Zonfer? I guess that it is appropriate. You were one. I feel as though my brain is melting. You were one in the same at one time, before you became drunk with power. I hope that goddamn albatross goes down with all of you in it. Dankin spewed. Zonfer grabbed Dankin by the collar. A physical confrontation seemed inevitable. The collection of resistance members yelled in rebellion. Calm down, boys. It's all right, Dankin said calmly. Leave. Now, Zonfer whispered. Dankin laughed. Sure, I'll be going now. You can have all these peasants. Send the best to Tabor for me. Oh, that's right. Zonfer watched the ragtag group file out of sight. A few obscene gestures were thrown his way. Zonfer accessed the comm channel. General, we're going to need to keep an eye on this. I have a bad feeling. Hayden pushed the comm deeper into his ear. Affirmative, sir. Zonfer did not appreciate the interaction. He was glad to see Dankin leave with his followers, even if it was only temporarily. The new beginning faced its first obstacle. The question remained in Zonfer's mind. Why was Dankin going to Tento if he was against the idea? The answer was obvious to Zonfer. Dankin's resistance would attempt to ignite a civil war. Dankin's force structure was far more formidable than Zonfer could imagine. Dankin had formed a force around 1 million followers who were opposed to the evacuation. The majority was ordered to lie low. Dankin wanted to retain the element of surprise. The resistance would vow to end the new beginning and take as many lives as possible. After Dankin left, the mood returned to being jubilant. However, if the people of Earth had known what was to come, there would have been no celebrating. This was the beginning of the bloodiest conflict in human history. Unfortunately, there was nothing that Zonfer could do to prevent these events from happening. Zonfer turned to view his people. He knew Dankin well, and what he sensed scared him. Dankin had plunged off the deep end. His psychotic nature now defined him. Zonfer's heart sunk at the sight of the massive celebration. He hoped this would be the last roadblock to the new beginning, but deep down, he knew otherwise. I'm pausing to take another sip of my drink. The celebration went on for many hours. Zonfer retired to his palace long before the celebrations had concluded. He had grown tired of mingling. Sleep didn't come easy to Zonfer. The many Many years of war and violence had affected his mind in the worst possible manner. Nightmares plagued his nights, images of dismembered bodies and of baby corpses. What is their obsession with baby corpses? He was a troubled soul. The many ghosts of his past indiscretions and atrocities haunted him. His sins would not go unpunished. The many months flew by quickly. The future continued to look up. The inhabitants of Earth had found something to look forward to. The time of the Exodus was fast approaching. Anticipation was quickly rising. Plague attacks were declining, and the human race breathed a collective sigh of relief. Dankin had also been eagerly anticipating the launch. He decided this would be the best time to begin the war. He finally had a meaningful task that he would be involved in. The wars were significant, but he played limited roles in those conflicts. This uprising would be of his making, an accomplishment of his own. The resistance was like a nomadic tribe. They gathered wherever it was most convenient and planned their eventual attacks. The Exodus was now a mere month away. Zonfer's daily routine remained unchanged. His advisors entered his office and provided hourly updates on the progress of the various matters at hand. During his brief moments of inactivity, he observed the vast expanse of his view of the Alps. Something was happening. The sky was changing. Science officials had been playing catch-up with the changing biology of the planet for months. Any ironclad explanation remained elusive. The sooner Earth could treat the Renaissance as a home, the better. Zonfer's communication panel sounded. He lightly touched the answer button. "Sir, General Hayden to see you." "Send him in, please." The general walked into Zonfer's office. He had a perplexed look upon his face. Zonfer shifted his attention to his commanding officer. "General, how are—" Zonfer sensed the general's bewilderment. "What's the matter?" The general's posture straightened. "Sir, the resistance appears to be amassing weapons and transports." Zonfer gazed down at his desk. "Yes, Recon has been reporting the same activities. Just keep an eye on them. I don't want to be the one to start a war." "Yes, sir." "Was that all, General?" "Yes, sir." Zonfer nodded. "Dismissed." Suddenly Zonfer's console toned again. He answered. "Sir, a man is here to see you. He refuses to—" "Let me in," the voice interrupted. "I just want to talk." Zonfer immediately recognized the voice. "Dankin. It's him," Zonfer said to Hayden. "What?" he exclaimed. "You mean him?" Zonfer nodded. "I think it would be wise for you to stay during our meeting." "Absolutely, sir." Zonfer appeared ineffective, but his strategy was hard to discern. "Send him in." "I'm on my way," Dankin responded on the console. Zonfer's eyes widened. Dankin kicked in the steel door. It swung with a massive crash. "Man, there's a big mess out there. You should have somebody clean it up," Dankin said jovially. A pool of blood was visible from Zonfer's vantage point. His attendant had been murdered. The culprit was obvious. Dankin had made his grand entrance. The grandiose decor and bust of Zonfer he viewed upon strolling the headquarters entrance sickened him. He viewed this as a weak man's ego getting the best of him. He thought to himself that he would enjoy killing Zonfer more than he enjoyed killing anyone before him. Dankin's hatred for Zonfer was seething at this point. He wanted to kill him right then, but he managed to control his anger. The general was a formidable deterrent after all. Hayden raised his red-filled assault rifle. "Please, sir, let me take this maggot out." Zonfer held his arm out and shook his head. "We'll have real problems if we kill him now." Dankin was a maniac. The adrenaline from his kill was just entering his system. "God damn, this place is hideous. I've never seen more gaudy things in my life. You sure do have bad taste, Wolf." "Don't call me that," Zonfer exploded, pounding the desk with furious rage. "Ha! Touched a nerve, did I? I know your past well, you old bastard. Your mindless sheep like that big mongrel might not remember, but I do," Dankin proclaimed. Zonfer clenched his teeth. He was between a proverbial rock and a hard place. He couldn't imprison or eliminate Dankin. If he did so, it would appear that he was the one agitating the situation. Also, Dankin's followers would surely lead a rescue mission for their leader. Zonfer considered his words. "Dankin, despite your wanting to thwart the Exodus—" "Nonsense," Dankin interrupted. "You are quite mistaken, my old friend. I can't wait for the Exodus. This was a new beginning for me as well. The resistance will rise on the day of the Exodus. This is my defining moment, Zonfer, not yours. Zonfer bit his bottom lip. He grew tired of this idiocy. Dankin paused and fiddled with his hands. Zonfer, do you remember what it is like to kill a man? Do you remember the rush of adrenaline that comes from getting another man's blood on your hands? We're alike, you and I. We're warrior program grads. You remember Sullivan, the conditioning? It's all right there, buried deep within your mind. All you have to do is call on it, just like yesteryear. Dankin's voice had trailed off to a disturbingly evil hiss. Zonfer found his demons gaining on him fast. His old AAF partner was dredging up very dangerous memories. Memories long forgotten, memories long buried. He glared at Dankin blankly. Dankin snickered. Do you remember our fishing trips at the barracks? Zonfer's eyes narrowed on Dankin. He remembered that? Dankin continued. I thought we'd had a great partnership. I trusted you. We trained harder than others. We got that Leopold together. Somehow you alone became Mr. Leopold in 2993. Then after all that bullshit, just before our first deployment, you dropped me like a bad habit. And I'm not supposed to be mad? Zonfer shook his head. Ancient history. Ancient history. Not to me. Dankin was emotional, vulnerable. Zonfer sensed an opening. Dankin, time heals all. Why don't you take a breather, see a psychologist, get some help? The new beginning will be for all of Earth, you included. Dankin nodded. Maybe you're right, Wolf. Maybe you're right. Dankin left Zonfer's headquarters. Medics were attempting to resuscitate Dankin's victim, but he casually walked by barely noticing the scene. It was as if he were sleepwalking through the mess. Zonfer ascended from his seat and ran to the scene. She gonna make it? He inquired. She's gone, sir. Sorry, the medic responded. General Hayden approached soon after. Sir, I don't understand why you didn't take that nut into custody. He can do a lot less damage on the inside than out. Zonfer stared at Hayden wide-eyed. The look was plenty. Hayden stood down. He was probably correct, but the possible danger to Zonfer's image was too high of a risk. They would fight Dankin and the resistance. At this point, a scarred reputation would be far more devastating. So, with that, we have reached the 2-hour mark of this stream. I would like to thank you all for joining me on this absolute chaotic fucking adventure of absolute fucking bullshit. We will continue these. We are on page 42 of 309. We are 13% into this book. But again, in order to save my voice, I am breaking these up into 2-hour-long streams. So I would like to thank you. Thank you all for joining me. I would like to thank the people. Here we go. I would like to thank you all for joining me on this absolute disaster of a train ride. Hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for those who watched the stream. Thank you for those who are joining me on the replay. Thank you for those who chatted. Thank you for those who lurked. You are all amazing. I have been the CashApp. You have been my most wonderful, amazing, beautiful, absolutely delicious, and juiciest of thirst quenchers. And I will see you the next time that we dive into this madness that is the Tento Saga. Have a fantastic Saturday.